Deep in the Atlantic Ocean, beyond the reach of civilization and surrounded by endless waves, one of the greatest maritime mysteries in history began. A ship sailing normally, an experienced captain, a loving family on board, a routine voyage that should have ended like any other. But just a few weeks later, the vessel was found drifting alone in the middle of the ocean, completely abandoned. No bodies, no signs of violence, no distress calls, no explanation. The captain, his wife, his young daughter, and every member of the crew had vanished without a trace. It was as if they had simply disappeared into thin air. What happened aboard that ship? Was it a tragic accident, a desperate act of survival, or a mystery that the world has never been able to solve? Tonight, we uncover one of the most chilling and fascinating unsolved stories ever recorded. The story of a ship found perfectly intact, but with every soul on board missing. This is the mystery of the Mary Celeste, a mystery that has puzzled the world for over 150 years. Imagine sailing across the vast Atlantic Ocean, surrounded by nothing but endless water. Suddenly, you spot a ship drifting strangely in the distance. As you approach, you call out to the crew, but no one answers. You climb aboard. The food is still on the table. Personal belongings remain untouched. Everything appears normal, except for one terrifying detail. There is no one on board. Every single person has vanished. This is not a movie or a fictional story. It is a real event that took place in 1872 and became one of the greatest maritime mysteries in history. This is the story of the famous ship, Mary Celeste. The beginning of the voyage. On November 7th, 1872, the Mary Celeste departed from New York City, bound for Genoa, Italy. The ship was commanded by Captain Benjamin Briggs, an experienced sailor with an excellent reputation. Traveling with him were his wife, Sarah Briggs, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. 7 experienced crew members also joined the voyage. The ship carried more than 1,700 barrels of industrial alcohol, a valuable cargo at the time. Everything seemed perfectly normal. No one could have imagined that this routine journey would become a mystery, discussed for generations. The last known entry. Investigators later examined the ship's logbook. The final entries showed that the voyage had been progressing normally. The weather was not severe. The ship was not sinking. No major problems were reported. Then suddenly, the entry stopped and everyone disappeared. A shocking discovery. On December 5th, 1872, another vessel called the Dei Grazia was crossing the Atlantic Ocean. The crew noticed a ship behaving strangely in the distance. It appeared to be drifting without proper control. Attempts to communicate received no response. Concerned, the captain ordered several sailors to investigate. When they boarded the vessel, they were stunned. The ship was completely abandoned. No captain, no crew, no passengers, no one. Strange findings on board. The deeper they searched, the stranger the mystery became. They discovered that most of the cargo was still intact. Food and fresh water supplies were plentiful. Personal belongings remained untouched. Money and valuables had not been stolen. There were no signs of violence or struggle. If pirates had attacked, why leave behind valuable cargo? If there had been a mutiny, where had everyone gone? And if the ship had nearly sunk, why was it still floating in relatively good condition? There was some water in the hold, but not nearly enough to sink the vessel. The missing lifeboat. Investigators noticed that the ship's lifeboat was gone. This led to an important theory. Perhaps the crew had voluntarily left the ship. But that raised an even bigger question. Why would experienced sailors abandon a large vessel that was still seaworthy and climb into a small lifeboat in the middle eye of the Atlantic Ocean? Such a decision would have been incredibly risky. The pirate theory. One of the earliest explanations was piracy. However, this theory quickly fell apart. Pirates usually steal valuables and cargo, yet the cargo remained largely untouched. There were also no signs of fighting, or weapons or bloodshed. As a result, most historians dismissed the piracy theory. The mutiny theory. Some believe the crew had mutinied against Captain Briggs. Perhaps they killed him and escaped. But investigators found no evidence of conflict aboard the ship. Furthermore, The crew members were known as skilled and trustworthy sailors. This theory also lacked convincing evidence. The mysterious explosion theory. Many researchers consider this the most likely explanation. The Mary Celeste was carrying thousands of gallons of industrial alcohol. Alcohol vapors are highly flammable. Some experts believe that vapors may have leaked from several barrels, creating the possibility of an explosion. Perhaps the crew heard a loud blast-like sound or felt a sudden shock. Fearing a catastrophic explosion, Captain Briggs may have ordered everyone into the lifeboat temporarily, while staying close to the ship. Then disaster struck. Strong winds and rough seas may have caused the lifeboat's rope to snap. The Mary Celeste drifted away. The crew, trapped in a small boat, disappeared into the vast Atlantic Ocean forever. This theory explains why the ship was abandoned without signs of violence. The rogue wave theory. Another possibility involves a massive rogue wave. A giant wave may have struck the vessel, convincing the captain that the ship was about to sink. In a moment of panic, the crew could have evacuated. The ship survived. The lifeboat did not. Yet there is no definitive proof to support this explanation. Stranger theories. Over the years, even more bizarre theories emerged. Sea monsters, the Bermuda Triangle, alien abductions, both supernatural forces. These ideas captured the public imagination, but no evidence has ever supported them. They remain the stuff of legends rather than history. The official investigation. Authorities launched a lengthy investigation. Even the crew of the Dei Gracia came under suspicion. Some speculated that they had murdered the Mary Celeste's crew and seized the ship. However, investigators found no evidence linking them to any crime. Eventually, the case was closed without a solution. Why does the mystery endure? Because almost all the evidence disappeared along with the people aboard. No bodies were ever found. No survivors ever came forward. No messages explained what happened. No witnesses saw the final moments. All that remained was an empty ship drifting alone across the Atlantic Ocean. Conclusion. More than 150 years later, the world is still asking the same question. What really happened to the crew of the Mary Celeste? Did they abandon the ship because of a genuine threat? Did they fall victim to an accident we still do not understand? Or did the truth vanish with them beneath the waves? Perhaps we will never know. But one thing is certain. The story of the Mary Celeste remains one of the most chilling and fascinating maritime mysteries in human history. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Heaven of Stories, and turn on notifications so you never miss another mystery from the world's most fascinating unsolved stories. Some secrets are never buried by time. They only become more mysterious.